meeting to order. The agenda will be as follows. There'll be a roll call, swearing in if you're planning to speak, rules of procedure, prior meeting minutes votes, then we'll get to old business and new business, and then to other announcements. Roll call, please.
Alex Rayland, Beverly Bell, Javier Peralta Ramos.
Here.
Lee Helena, Reginald Rupp,
Here.
Sarah Brogdon, Lindsay Wilkie, here, Thomas Palmer,
Here.
Jack Wood.
Here. Okay, if you plan to speak, you must be sworn in and you must sign in. And when you begin to speak, please say your name and then state your address and your interest in the project for the record. There's a laser pointer available if you need to point to any drawings or pictures. You may leave after your case is heard. If you do leave, please go beyond the wood doors. The little area right here is very noisy and can disrupt the meeting. If you defer your case, you'll need to notify staff when you'd like to be heard. Major modification permits shall be issued within a week of the meeting through the online application portal, and this meeting is being recorded. Rules of procedure, there'll be a staff presentation of up to 7 minutes. The applicant will then have 7 minutes to speak to the case. We will then call for community comments, either for or against. We'll allow 9 minutes total. Then the applicant has a chance to respond to those comments for another 2 minutes. And then we will go into committee discussion, which we will no longer have audience participation, and then we will go into a motion and a vote. Okay, here's the one. The downtown code is intended to balance conservation and development by promoting development that maintains downtown position as the region's predominant economic, civic, and cultural center. All right. Promoting development along transit corridors that enhances their function and as mixed use, walkable centers that serve surrounding residential neighborhoods. Providing standards for compatible transitions of use, building scale, height between existing and new development. Guiding reinvestment in established neighborhoods that builds upon and reinforces their unique characteristics. Promoting preservation and protection of historic resources, providing clear and consistent procedures for appropriate and effective public involvement in land use and development decisions. Code is intended to achieve design excellence in the built environment by providing building and site design standards that address public aspects of private development and how building form, placement, and uses contribute to the quality of the public realm. Providing parking and access standards that appropriately balance pedestrian and vehicular needs and result in safe pedestrian environments of the highest quality. Promoting high-quality, innovative landscape design that advances function and the beauty of downtown. The code is intended to guide downtown's prosperous and sustainable future by providing clear regulations and process that result in predictable, efficient, and coordinated review processes, promoting sustainable building and site design practices, promoting diverse housing options, providing standards for interconnected streets and development patterns that support all modes of travel, including walking, bicycling, public transit, and driving, promoting conservation of land, energy, and natural resources. The standards established in the downtown code are intended to achieve the following: maintain a safe, walkable, attractive urban environment along the street, maximize opportunities for redevelopment and investment in the downtown core, provide diversity of housing options, promote development that will support transit and commercial services the community desires, protect established single-family residentials from incompatible development, protect the integrity of established historic districts and significant historic/civic landmarks. Balance development opportunity and conservation along the riverfront by promoting development scale and form that maintains public accessibility to the river, considers public-private benefits and scenic views along the river, considers the impact of topography, both in terms of reasonableness and of the standard when applied to a particular site and the potential impacts on adjoining properties, increase the tree canopy, and support adopted plan policies and recommendations. However, site-specific features, topographic changes, lot size, regular dimensions, physical barriers, or easements may create conditions that make compliance with a specific standard impractical or undesirable. It is also recognized that alternative design solutions may achieve the principles stated above and may not comply with a specific standard. It is the responsibility of the applicant to meet the burden of clearly demonstrating the reason for the requested code exception and to provide sufficient documentation to illustrate how the modification is related to a site constraint and/or how the modification would equal or exceed the existing standard in terms of achieving the principles stated above. Our role as the committee, review requests for major modifications to the FBC that do not qualify for staff approval and reveal appeals to staff decisions or interpretations. Has everybody had a chance to read the previous meeting minutes from last month? Can you get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries. All right. On to old business.
First case under old business is FBC -26-3, located at 103 Bridge Street Way. Zoning is WN zone. And they're requesting four modifications. One, to allow for a new monument sign construction, to reduce that setback from 18 feet to 5 feet, exceed maximum dimensions allowed for the monument sign, to increase the height from 6 to 9 feet, and then allow skyline signs on a building of 4 or fewer stories. And this is the meeting sign and aerial map of the location. This is the new branding, west side, fully built. And again, this is a list of their modification requests. This is an updated signage key. And this is the new branded sign, Mosaic West Side. And the location didn't change where you're proposing to.
No, ma'am.
Sign? Okay, so this is showing the sign with the 5-foot setback. And then this is a rendering of the proposed skyline signs on building B and on building B. That would face the highway. And then this is a 12th Street perspective, and then the pretty big perspective. So again, they're requesting those modifications to allow for the monument sign and to reduce the setback, increase the height, and then also allow for skyline signs on the buildings of 4 or fewer stories. And again, this is in our west side context area, which is one of the oldest neighborhoods with rich and complex history. That's now both to private and public housing. And again, the intent of this zone is to accommodate a mix of B and high intensity multifamily housing options, mixed with neighborhood commercial uses in a pedestrian environment that remains respectful of the neighborhood's rich history. So I would love to invite the applicant.
Okay.
And if you want to go back to this.
Can I swear everybody in for?
Oh, did I miss that?
Yes.
I
I
apologize.
just don't want to do it for every single person.
Yeah, got it. If you're speaking today, will you please stand to be sworn in?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Sorry I missed that.
Okay. My name is Dina Harvison, and I'm with Lightfoot Design Group, and I represent Columbia Residential. And one of the owners of Columbia Residential is here with me today and wants to contribute to the conversation. But when we were here in February, we presented our modification requests, and one of the setbacks was that the final branding and the name of the community had yet to be chosen. And so that's where we elected to come back once that was completed, which it has been and was part of the presentation today. We were also asked to provide PowerPoint of some pedestals in an urban setting, like what we're asking for. Is the PowerPoint presentation part of the slides?
No, I did not get that, but you emailed it to me?
Yeah, it was emailed. I emailed it to you. And I think I uploaded it as well, both. It's a PowerPoint presentation. But anyway, it was, you had wanted to see what some pedestals look like in that urban setting, and that's what the PowerPoint presentation is. But to introduce you guys, I don't know if you are all familiar with the West Side Revitalization Project, but it is primarily diversifying the housing of that area. It represents the east corridor. It's split by the interstate, and the skyline signs that we're asking to modify, we feel that that's an integral part of the community, mainly because it has the interstate visibility. No, I think it was the PowerPoint I emailed.
There's a PowerPoint, Columbia sign.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, these are examples from other projects that just show the pedestals. But I'm not sure, do you want me to speak to each modification and the reasoning why we're asking for the modifications?
If you don't mind.
You want to do that now? Okay. The first modification is the fact that the form-based code does not allow for, there's the pedestals, they don't allow for the monuments in form-based code. And because this is a multifamily site, we feel it's important to have a ground monument. The way the buildings are situated on the lots, a wall sign or a blade sign would not be visible. There's only one entry into the community. And the entry has a downward slope from the buildings, and we feel a four-sided pedestal is most appropriate for the entry into the apartments. This shows more or less skyline signs that we've done before at some of the other residential properties. That's an example of a four-sided pedestal. That's in downtown Atlanta. And that is in New Orleans, just not far from the major downtown district. But back to the modification. So we're asking to install a pedestal at the main entrance. There's only one entrance into the apartment community. And the second modification would be the setback of the pedestal. The design process for the buildings, we were asked to place those closer to the road. So if we place a pedestal 18 feet, which is what the setback allows, it would be further back than the buildings. And there's also some equipment that's close up to the street, and that also makes it unfeasible to place the signage 18 feet back. So we're asking for a reduced setback at about 5 to 6 feet from the right-of-way. And then we're also asking that the height of the sign increase to about 10 feet tall. Right now, the code is 6 feet, but because the entry of this community is at a downward slope and the first building that is closest to the monument, it's 7 floors tall. And so we feel like it needs to be about 10 feet just to be more in proportion in the design. So that was the other modification that we're asking for. And then the final modification request is to install skyline signs on the buildings that front Interstate 24. And that's the last 2 pages. Yeah, those. And those would be fabricated aluminum letters that halo illuminate from the back side. So they're very classy. You know, it's not, it's more fitting with a residential, a higher end than a commercial site. That shows you the entrance with the slope and the heights of the buildings, which is why we're asking for a increased height of the sign. And I also have the owner, Jim Grawley. He is partnering with Chattanooga Housing Authority, and he would like to say a few words too, please.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I just want to give you a perspective from what we're doing here and also answer any questions you have. The West Side Development, we were recruited as the master developer in partnership with the Chattanooga Housing Authority. It's really an initiative of the City of Chattanooga, the Housing Authority, and then we've come alongside that as the housing development partner. And you may know it's a comprehensive effort to really redevelop the whole west side area, which is centered around the College Hill Courts, which is 497 1940 public housing units. So we're replacing every one of those one for one. We're also bringing in workforce housing and market rate housing to an area that is very economically and physically isolated. So from that perspective, the visibility of this and being able to let people know where it is, what it is, and there's affordable housing opportunities immediately in the downtown is really important. So the signage dovetails with that. That's why we're asking for, people, obviously you can see this going up, but what is it? People think right now, the only thing in there for me is subsidized housing. And we are working very hard at building in locations like this to make sure nobody's displaced. But we're also trying to attract people in. And so the attracting people in is really important because what I found, and I'm a recent resident of Chattanooga, but people don't know what's in there. And so being able to identify it from, all the traffic counts going by is very important. The other thing is the site constraints. This site is the one site out of the development is 1,100 new homes, but replacing all the existing and also adding a lot. But this is the only site that's really going to have signage that we're going to have in a position that's visible from downtown or from the highway. And so it's trying to be subtle. We put a lot in these elevations. There's a lot of brick. There's a lot of variation of the elevations, variation of the colors to make it as attractive as possible. But having some identification of what it is really important because the most visibility is from there. The only other way to get into the site without a lot of turnaround is coming under 12th Street. So 12th Street is where the monument sign is, and Dina's articulated the case there. It's a little unique for us because we only have a single entry in and we have a scale of an urban scale, and the form-based code has been really helpful to be able to do that to meet some of the goals of the overall plan. But having a sign that is clearly visible and is visible from multiple directions will really help us because right now people don't know what's here other than the existing condition, and we want them to know that it is welcoming for all. But to be successful, we've got to attract a lot of people into this community as well. So that's where the signage for us is really critical. We want to be as sensitive and as high quality as possible with the design, but we think a couple spots where you can have some identity of this new place is really going to be helpful to the overall mission of the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions about what it is and why it is.
I'm not sure. I don't know if everybody can speak. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak, oppose, or for this project? Seeing none, I guess you guys don't need to say anymore. Does anybody from the committee have any questions? Coach, I'd actually like to ask if you have some memory or record of the February meeting of what was discussed there.
In the February meeting, the concern about the monument sign was more about it being a suburban style sign
Mhm.
and an urban context. And that was the majority discussion around that sign. And I think there was, like she mentioned, concerns since it didn't actually have a name or a brand to make a decision about kind of knowing what that final branding was going to be.
Okay.
So they deferred to come back once they had that meeting with the community and it came up with the new branding for the development.
Was there any discussion around the skyline signs?
I don't think that there was a huge objection to the skyline signs, except that they looked at the time sort of like hotel signage.
They didn't have a scale.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, and the drawing I had was just a placeholder instead of what the actual name was going to be.
And we appreciate your patience with we went through a pretty extensive process. The community itself has been very involved in everything from the master plan, and some of you are involved in the master planning, and the development of what we're going to build, how we're going to do it, and all the other elements. And so we wanted to really have a careful process of, and we do this pretty typically, of working with the community on what are identifiers, what is the message we want to send about how we identify what's new, but also be respective of the old and what the history of the community is, which there's a lot of great history. And so that took a while. It was a process of community meetings. It's a process of a lot of input. It was a process of social media polls, things like that. And that's where we came up with really a reaffirmation of branding the West Side, but also having kind of branding manifestos and themes around that, because we're going to have multiple different phases and different buildings with different identities. This is the one that has the most challenges signage wise. The next one we're building is up already under construction up on the top of the hill. We're going to have a blade sign there that I think is already fits within the form-based code. No, I don't think we're going to have much ask there. Then we're going to be starting to build on the College Hill Court site on the third phase, starting in 2027. And so I think those will be a lot more typical and aligned with, but this site in particular has some unique aspects.
Was there any community meetings held about signage in particular, this version of signage, to see what the community there thinks about it? We usually have community.
I
meetings.
actually provided, but this was back in February, and the meeting, I believe, was toward the end of January, where they presented the designs that I had that were placeholders, and, it was all, the comments were very positive, and that was part of what I originally had to give you guys back in February. Yeah. Yeah, there was no,
And you had a few.
Yes.
Right?
yeah, it was just not long before that February meeting.
Well, I mean, the branding's out.
Oh, yeah, the branding.
It was,
Yes,
it was.
right.
And so we showed why it was important, and where it was going to be manifested. So we showed the drawings with kind of the blank name
Mhm.
and said, this is where you're going to see it. And this is why it's important. And it's going to be in all the collateral materials, the marketing materials, and carry through the development, the fonts, the colors, all those things are really important. And so that's where we got a lot of input. So I don't think we change anything about what we'd be asking for as far as the physical signs or where they are. It was just putting the exact names on there.
Does anyone else on the committee have any further questions for the applicant before we get a committee discussion?
At least on the sky side, what is that you ask for? What is not complying? Is it size, the
It's the
location?
height of the building.
Huh?
The way the code
building is
reads
not
is
tall
that
enough.
you're not supposed to have a skyline sign in a building less than 4 stories.
10 stories.
Or-
Well, it reads over 4 is the verbiage, but the building A is 7 floors, but it just so happens that the buildings that face the interstate, those are 4 floors. But the code reads over 4. So that's why we're asking for a modification, to place the signage on the buildings that face the interstate.
Yeah, because it says 4 or fewer.
We were trying to interpret that, because
Yeah.
we thought 4 would be in that, depending how you read it, where you
Yeah.
put the comma and the pause.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but you said you have 4 stories?
Oh, yeah, the buildings that face the interstate are 4.
Oh, yeah, but that way that reads, it does include.
Doesn't it say, it says over 4, right?
Well,
Does
it
it-
says buildings of 4 or fewer stories. So this
Oh,
is
a 4 or fewer. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, we
So
thought,
it's-
we thought 4 was okay, but we're making sure.
Yeah.
It's not the best word.
Lindsay, did you have a?
I did. When I think about a monument, I think of something that pays homage to our history, to a place. I'm curious, and I think monument sign brought that to mind. Is there anything on this site in particular, as the first phase, that does pay homage to the history with the school? Is that something that the sign itself could be monumental to, or is it otherwise represented?
I think that's a really good point. I would point to a couple of things. One, we have had a lot of success with these kind of signs in these kind of redevelopments, but that doesn't address the historical. The 2 things that are here that I think tie into the historical, one is, and you'll see it on the buildings, there's a lot of brick and a lot of masonry, because the public housing is brick, the school is all brick. We were involved in the demolition of it. And it has a lot of history. The other thing is the tree. And those of you who've been following the process and the master planning, there's a tree that's called the Grace tree that was very very much an icon. There's two big icons in the middle of College Hill Courts. One was the Grace Tree, the other was the flagpole. We're actually in a future phase gonna replace the flagpole. But the tree actually got hit by lightning during the master planning process, and ultimately we had to take it down. But we have done a lot of things to honor that. One is actually save the tree wood, and we have a local fabricator who is took it down, curing the wood, creating planks, and we're making tables out of it. That'll be really beautiful. And then number two is we put it in the logo because it keeps coming up. And so we want to really honor that. So the logo is not on, it's on this sign here. And so those two, I think the brick and the tree are the things that would be evoking the history. There's not a specific to the school, but that was a very important thing in the community.
Any other comments or questions from the committee, from maybe some folks who are from the February meeting?
I'd make a comment. I'm familiar with the neighborhood and, you know, it's a nice development going on there. But what they're talking about on that monumental sign, when you come out of that curve with 12th Street, it's going uphill. And so there's really the only way you're gonna be able to see what that project name is. Cause you gotta be paying attention as you come out of that curve and it's cover overhead, it's under the interstate, and when you come out, the development is like.
Immediately on your right.
Yeah.
And then it slopes up, so there's really no way of seeing it if that sign is pushed back 18 feet, and you can't drive and look. So I think I don't have a problem with signage.
Okay, so you think there's significant enough, you know, terrain issues that,
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I think there's more than it, in that diagram, the architectural, it really feels like a lot more slope than that. It's pretty steep. You can see it in the photograph from the street, but it feels like, as Mr. Ruff said, more slope than that. And we also have a handicap accessible sidewalks. We have a lot of things going on there. There's equipment related to the fire pumps and things like that. So that is also a reason to locate it where we've asked for at the 5-foot setback. But I think it's not, if you look at that drawing, right beyond the edge of the building on the right, it's the highway and you're coming out from under that underpass. So it is like you come by, you see there's a building and then boom, it's right there. And that's your one shot to see what it is.
And also this phase one is like the corridor entering the entire revitalization projects. So it's almost like that's the bookend.
And I would say, you know, even though this is under a form-based code, which is primarily dealing with urban edges, it was probably the only way to get this project done at the density it was, but it's still a residential feel. Pretty open between buildings. Does anyone have any thoughts about the skyline sign? See 4 stories instead of 5. I feel like we've allowed that before because of visual issues, but I can't recall the case.
I would be fine with it, especially considering how elevated the buildings are in relation to the context.
Okay, so we feel like it could be appropriate since the buildings are elevated to be much higher than 4 stories from the street. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion on case number LBC 26-3, 103 Bray Street Way, as submitted pursuant to the City of Chattanooga Code Section 38-596-4, and pursuant to the form-based code as specified below and subject to all conditions. Modification requests a reduction in the monument sign setback to 18 feet. And the rationale behind that is because of the buildings are closer to the street and the sign is sitting between a bunch of utility stuff sitting on the street. And it's a steep grade getting into the site, so that's really the only way it is. Exceeding the dimensions allowed for the monumental ground sign increasing height from 6 feet to 9 feet, and the same reason, just as addressed below, if it's shorter, you won't be able to see the sign when you come around that curve from the freeway. Allowing the scout sign on the building of 4 feet, four floors, view service. That's, again, I think those signs can only be seen from the freeway and from downtown, so you can't even see it from complex from that whole area. And that's really the only way we can identify what the sign is from that side.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
We're approving everything together.
Well, you made the motion to approve everything.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next case under old business is FBC 26 10 located at 2 West Crane Way, Unit 4. They are in the downtown shop front next to Stone. They are asking for a modification to allow a message center sign and then to exceed the maximum ground floor sign square footage. This is a picture of a meeting sign. This is located at the middle of our Carrington Center. And this is an aerial of the application. These are just images of the center. This is the video board. So again, the modification request is to allow a message center sign as a video board sign and to exceed the ground floor's square footage. Sign, again, the downtown core contract area is the highest intensity area in the city. And again, it's mostly office and employment activity. But there are opportunities for multifamily residences, especially for mixed use. And this zone is intended to accommodate a variety of residential, retail, service, commercial buildings in a shopfront environment. And again, uses are flexible with tall ground floors and large areas of transparent glazing are required. So I would love to invite the applicant up to talk about the project.
Oops.
Hello, my name is Vince Butler. I'm with the National or the Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center. Thank you for taking time to hear our case today. So we would like to ask for an exception to do a proposed LED screen that will help the Heritage Center better fulfill its mission for a couple of ways. It will provide a modern, effective way to reach the school groups, recognize visiting Medal of Honor recipients and other distinguished guests that are visiting the center, to highlighting our educational programs and share important information when people pass through the Aquarium Plaza each and every day. When visitors enter the plaza, they primarily enter through two key points of access, Aquarium Way and Chestnut Street. The video board is the most visible way possible to communicate as people walk through these 2 points of access, where our building sign is not. If you've ever been to the plaza at the Heritage Center, there's, I'm guessing, a 60-foot tree right in front of our sign and a concrete bridge walkover that blocks our sign. So one of our biggest issues when we talk to people is where you're located at. And we think if you talk about how you communicate with people today, video is the most effective way to reach people. So the LED screen will not be used for commercial advertising. I want to make sure that is clear. It will not be running at night. I want to make that clear. It will be turned off when we close. There'll be no sound except occasionally we'll have a public event out in our patio like we did on America 250 and July 4th, where we have a Bricks of Honor ceremony where we already have audio on our front door to project the speaker and the playing of taps. So, but if it's not with an event at the Heritage Center outside, then it will not be playing sound. So we're asking, again, I think this is the most appropriate way that we can communicate with the public and strengthen our presence in downtown Chattanooga and have a way to connect with students, families, and tourists and community members as they walk through the plaza. And in meeting with some people that were in opposition to this application, the one thing I do want to say and clarify, their main reason for the opposition was this is a park. The Aquarium Plaza per se is not a recognized city park. The Passage is. That is clearly a city park. But the LED board is not visible from the Passage. You can't even see it. It's a completely different side of the Aquarium Plaza. So I want to make sure that that is communicated. If you'll pull up to the screen real quick, I want to just clarify. So that's our front. If you just not play the video, do the picture. Okay, how do you get this thing to point? Oh, there it is. So, oh yeah, right. Look, this right here. The board is 15 feet by 15 feet. It'll be centered there's probably a 2 to 3 foot panel on each side of this. There'll be remain the glass, but the screen will be positioned right above our front doors. So when you actually look in, if you're at the plaza, you're coming over from the Chattanooga Green Space and walking in front of the aquarium, you'll see the sign. If you're coming from where Ben & Jerry's ice cream is, you're going to see the sign. As you come across into the horseshoe and you turn right, you'll see it. And so those are the two key access points to the aquarium that people traverse. So you can actually say, when I say you walk down to the aquarium parking lot and turn in here, or you come this way in here. If you're coming from this way, you're not going to see it at all. And if you even come in on that sidewalk right there, you're not going to see it until you get right into the front of the building. So I don't know if y'all have any specific questions that I can answer. But we do want to appreciate your consideration of this variance. And that is it, unless you have questions for me to ask or answer.
Any questions at the moment?
Are there any other existing video screen signs around the Aquarium Plaza today?
There is not. There's not, but the one application we do know about, IMAX made a request, but they're street facing. So they were denied because it's on the street. Ours is not on the street.
And there is that billboard, it came in before form-based code.
Yes. Across from the Johnson Group. Yeah. But that is 4 blocks from where we're at. So.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak for or against this?
Well, we got a few emails, so I can just go through those really quickly. They are all
You're fine.
from concerned residents, and they basically have similar concerns. So one was from David Hudson, and again, his main concern is about protecting the plaza, and he included Stroud Watson's kind of overarching ideals for the plaza as a park. As a porch. That Eric Myers did send in one, and again, feels like Ross's Landing and Plaza is a public space designed for public art, and the display would be visually loud. And again, this is an award-winning people-centered park. And then Robert Taylor, again, had issues with proposed illumination scale and how it contrasts to a plaza environment, and then he considers a video board inappropriate and undesirable intrusion. Those were the things.
Yeah.
Go through those quickly before.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. I'm Bill Raines, and Chattanooga, Tennessee. My address, 1129 Rivercrest Drive. I've been involved with the Medal of Honor Heritage Center before day one, so it's been a pretty good while. And we've gone through many challenges. We have tried to work with several mayors over the years, and we've got a very important mission. We're trying to use the examples of Medal of Honor recipients their valor as examples to inspire the future youth. Getting young people into our facility is key. I've been involved in commercial real estate for over 50 years. I've worked with Stroud Watson before on the development. I understand the importance of signage. And as Vince mentioned, we've got 60-foot tall trees. We've got a bridge that blocks the view. It's not possible to see us. We need young people who are there to realize there's a heritage center that happened right here in our city that created a Medal of Honor. In addition to that, it's obvious that technology changes over the years. And if Stroud Watson was here, I'd be curious to ask him. At one time, we didn't have signage that was illuminated. Young people today don't want to see a static museum with artifacts. They want to see interactive facilities. They want to visually understand and educate themselves that way. So I'm totally in support of this recommendation. And I assure you, the sound aspect will be done most respectfully. We're not going to have commercials on there. You can't see it from the streets. It is very important, I think, to our mission and the community that this be utilized and it would be very successful in our operations. Thank you.
Well, I'm Charlie Coolidge, Jr. Lest anybody have a heart attack. I've been kind of a wayward child. I grew up here in Hamilton County for the first 17 years, went off and joined the Air Force, spent 40 years in the Air Force. I wasn't planning that, but it happened. And then I went into the private industry, working for a major aerospace company for the last 22 years. And I'm finally back home. I've been here about a week. I've been contemplating this for the last 67 years or so, 62 years. So I'm finally back home and I feel comfortable. I want to first thank you all for what you all have helped build on Aquarium Way. That's important. It's important for a number of reasons, not the least of which is posterity. Our children, our grandchildren will benefit immensely out of that. Yes, it's a national museum. And I can remember being very small and my parents dragging me various places in Chattanooga, many places that they had the museum originally, one on Georgia Avenue, which was a big building there. But in any event, it has matured. And if they still had the same stuff in this museum, nobody would come. But it takes modern technology to educate and challenge our young folks today. And I think this is a small part of that. I'm very mindful of the historical aspects of the city, and that's why the National Medal of Honor Heritage Center is here in Chattanooga because of history, because the first medals were presented right here in Chattanooga. I've had the honor and privilege to be a mayor 3 times in my Air Force career. So I am really attuned to the rules and the angst that you have to go through to make the right decisions. And I'm sure you're going to do that. But the point is, there's always a tug and a pull to make sure that we do the right things. And sometimes that's not the easy thing to do. But I ask you on behalf of not just the city of Chattanooga and the county of Hamilton, state of Tennessee, but nationally. There's a huge veteran base right here in Chattanooga as well. People who've dedicated their lives to the country. And I wound up being one of those. On behalf of them, I ask you to approve this, and we're willing to work with you. The museum's willing to work with you. If it's a little too large, we'll make it right. But the point is, it's not visible today. they can't see the museum when you come from other than the street side. And we're not going to put it on the street side. We're mindful of that. So I ask you to think about this, and I thank you in advance for everything you've done. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I also want to join them in saying thank you for allowing us to present to you. My name is Linda Moss Mines, and I have been a historian and a teacher now. This is my 52nd year as a professional historian. I am your city and county historian, and I am very mindful of the fact that we want our downtown riverfront to be welcoming, for it to be a green space. The reality is that the National Medal of Honor Heritage Center, named for Charlie Coolidge, our Medal of Honor recipient, one of our recipients from here in Chattanooga, is indeed a center for learning. Our primary goal is not only to educate the young people of this community, a particular passion of mine, but also to share those values with visitors to this community. As someone who serves on the Chattanooga-Chickamauga National Military Park Board, who works with other veteran organizations, so many of our tourists who come to this city come because they understand the rich history here, from the time of the Cherokee Nation and the Revolutionary War through the Civil War, through modern with Fort Oglethorpe, all of that. But the fact that we are the birthplace of the Medal of Honor is something that stands prominent in our national conscience. For us to be able to make certain that people are aware that we're here. So many of those veterans who come here, so many of our veterans, over 55,000 veterans living in this Tennessee Valley, don't really know where we are because we're not visible. We're not asking for a sign that is garish. I would never be a part of that. You know, I'm a historian, I'm a historical preservationist. What I am interested in is connecting the past with the present to influence the future, and indeed having a well-designed, tasteful video screen is not a flashing Broadway marquee. It is something that will fit with the footprint that we have, and it will allow us to combine all the best aspects of Chattanooga and our history to inform the future. So thank you for considering this request.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, do anyone from the committee have any comments, thoughts?
Move that I want to respond to the emails.
Sorry, procedure. Would the applicant like to speak again, even though there was nobody speaking against it?
Yeah, I just meant if you wanted to respond to the emails, I was like, yeah, but you don't have to.
I think I addressed one point, which is the park issue. I think a lot of it is there. Back in the mid-90s, when the Aquarium Plaza was built and opened up, there was a perception from their perspective of what it's supposed to be. I don't know. I moved here in 2000, and I know of a lot of people, and we asked everybody in the city if there's actually any documentation at the city that says this is a park, and there's not. They don't have any. There may have been when they designed it, some discussions, but it was never codified with the city of Chattanooga outside of the passage, and that is a city park. But again, this screen is not visible from that area. So the other one, they talk about the design intent, and I would say that we're going to be doing it in a respectful way. And again, it's going to be text and video. Text when a VIP dignitary or a recipient there or school's visiting. Short videos with no sound that shows the inside, because the biggest question we always get is like, what is the Heritage Center? And they don't know what's behind the walls, to try to help them understand what we do and who we are. But also the biggest challenge that we see is just people finding us behind the canopy of trees and the bridges and everything else that's out there that kind of hides us, to try to make it visible as the two key access points to walk into the plaza. So I think that was it that they did raise. So unless y'all have any more questions, I'm gonna sit back down.
We're good for now. Okay. Back out to the committee. Any comments or thoughts?
I wish we had metrics for how bright the screen and what that scale is. Does anybody on the board know the scale of like how many foot candles is reasonable at nighttime or at daytime or anything like that?
Yeah, that's published in lumens. It's published.
It's in, I think, the technical specs. I don't have it with me. I should have brought that. It is 15 feet by 15 feet. It is not gonna be played at night. So once we close at 6 p.m., 5 o'clock, it's turned off. So, so it's not gonna be, so I think the brightness of it, it's not gonna disrupt during the day because it's light. It is gonna be visible. I have it, I just gonna bring it with me, the actual lumens. I think it weighs 2,000 pounds, but it is 15 feet by 15 feet. So if you go back to the drawing, when I kind of showed you, there's a picture of the full building on the front side right there. So that's, you know, I guess it doing, you can kind of see it. So on the sides right here are going to be like the glass. It's actually this, it's like a little border that holds a frame that holds it. And so the actual screen is 15 feet by 15 feet, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 48 feet is
48 square feet.
48 square feet is what's allowed. If I'm right, I guess you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's 48 square feet. And we are, what's
225.
225.
Thank you.
So, as a optics laser guy, you're really interested in the contrast, how contrast, because you're going to be in daylight, not nighttime. So,
Well,
and the lumens, of course, drop off is 1/r squared. So my point is, you're just not going to have that light that you're worried about. I don't think.
I'm talking about it more from the context of like what restriction we can put on any kind of, you know,
Yeah.
approval or thing, right? Because we previously approved signs and
Can we condition the approval that it's going to be off at certain hours, I mean, beyond operational hours?
I mean, that's the easy one.
Yeah,
But
that's
if
an
we're gonna
easy way.
continue approving these types of signs and be in charge of that, then like we need to have a better understanding of the scale and impact for this.
So,
This is now the third sign we're reviewing.
yeah, so, that's, you know, big picture is, I can't express to you how important I think the center and museum is to the community. And I want to help in every single way possible. From our lens, where we have to look from the code, looking basically not internally to the museum itself, but to the public realm, which is where we have to, you know, this is why we review these things. Digital signs from the word go have so many issues with them, which is why they're essentially not allowed in so many places. And, you know, the issue is light pollution and light trespass. So you are attempting to address that by saying this is not going to be on at night. We could easily say within our approval that that's required. There is, to my knowledge, there is no enforcement of that at all. And so one of the biggest issue I have is precedent, as in you guys put this, we have your sign, you're very respectful, it works very well. Now we have an entire tourist district that wants nothing more than to advertise their place of business, to put up digital signs as well. And now that area starts to look a lot like, you know, I'm over exaggerating, but Vegas. So we have to be very cognizant of those decisions that we make, you know, including if the museum, God forbid it ever moves and there's a sign there and somebody moves in and it's an all-night ice cream parlor or whatever it is. So we have to take this very seriously. I'm concerned that we need to work a little bit harder to find a a solution that everybody is happy with. But if looking at the code itself, there's a number of things that are not on here that I think go against the code, which is signs are not supposed to cover up architectural features of the building. There's the size issues and all of that. So I would like to find a way to, get the museum out there. But I'm having a hard time supporting this as proposed. So that's my 2 cents. I'll let the rest of the community comment.
Yeah, I agree, Thomas. And unfortunately, it's not a black and white issue. I appreciate your service, and I love what the museum is doing, and looking at the greater whole of the plaza and the precedent that this could set. The aquarium comes and wants a digital sign, and suddenly there's a competition for getting customers in, and I know that's a real challenge for any downtown business. I think too, we have to think about how does it engage the pedestrian human scale experience, and when it's that far up high, I think that the quality of the signage is really not for improving the pedestrian human scale experience, and I think a video sign could be a lot more appropriate at eye level, where someone could read or really engage with it a little bit more. I don't know if that is something that's been considered, but it feels like the sign is competing with seeing through the trees and seeing through the other urban elements that are really just part of the natural urban context in this location.
I mean, in the sign code where it has issues with illumination, it's mostly if the illumination is causing a hazard, like if it mimics traffic lights or anything where visually, so like if it was a flashing sign, things like that are prohibited in general, but in this issue where it's not facing the street and it would cause a hazard like that, I'm just saying in the regular sign code, those would be things you take into account, is that it's not gonna cause that kind of disturbance.
May I respond, or am I allowed to?
Let me get everybody's comments and then I'll. Anyone else? Okay, please.
Yeah. I would address 2 points. There's only 2 major places that are in the plaza. It's the Tennessee Aquarium and us. There's a couple of Puckett's and I think that's it. Yeah, Puckett's. So there's 3 main businesses in there. Puckett's is street facing, so they can't do this. The aquarium could do it, but I think the aquarium's tall enough where people see it no matter where you're at in the city. So they don't have the challenges that we have. So I think that we are in a unique position. It is, we're not going to be showing it at night. So I think the concerns on lumens and the brightness, and it is to me, it is positioned right if you're walking in from the Chattanooga Green Space on Chestnut and walking in where the Tennessee Aquarium has a parking lot into the Horseshoe, and the trees do not distract. It's high enough to get above to where the tree's not. So there's a space, I wish I'd brought a picture, but if you're standing in the Horseshoe, you have that 60-foot tree that blocks our sign, and then you have the bridge, and then you have this opening, and that's where the sign is. So it's a perfect avenue of sight from the ground to the entrance on both ways. Now, we've tried to talk, is there a compromise somewhere? But nobody will give us an answer. They're just adamantly opposed to it. I don't know what the compromise is. We're open to discussing anything that's going to help address this issue. We're open to discussing it, and I think we're open to the restriction to make sure it's turned off by 6 p.m. I mean, that's I think is reasonable. So I don't know how to answer that question on, is there something smaller, different location? It's the same challenges. If we were to put it below the sign on the wall, you have the same size challenges that we're facing now. And I would, but I don't know if that's going to address the issue because then you're still blocked by the same tree. And the planters at the aquarium, they're about to put these 6-foot planters down that sidewalk to keep a car from driving down. So that's going to kind of disrupt the sign there when they place those planters in the next couple of months. And they're probably 3 feet high and 3 feet wide, concrete planters with trees on them, small trees. So that's the only issue if you put it down on the building facade. I guess street level is what I call it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's probably my best attempt to. So
You know, just commenting on, there's always a first for everything. You know, when new technology pops up, there's always gonna be, I mean, the first one is use ChatGPT or whatever. You know, you're gonna have to confront that. And that's a challenge that you all as a board has. And, I mean, I'm respectful of that, having been the mayor 3 times. As my wife said, 5 years, 3 months, and 17 days, but who was counting? But my point is, you've got to address, this is gonna come sooner or later. And it's already come on 4th Street or is that 4th or 5th Street?
that's also other places.
Yeah, another place in the town. So it's always already come, and that's why the rules are what they are. I guess my point is, this is a unique situation in that there's the bridge, there's trees, and you're really blocked in from finding this building. It's right in front of you. And so it's a line of sight issue. So I think we're open to suggestions and how to deal with this, but we're trying to get and educate the youth of America. And I'm not talking about just Hamilton County, but a lot of people from out of town.
I did want to address one point that I did not. We own the building. We bought it last year from River City. But if it helps get this approved, we're willing to put on language that we would take the sign. If and when, I don't think we're going to move anywhere anytime soon. So I think we're going to be here 20, 25 years from now. But you talk about the precedent setting standard. If we do move, we'll take the board down. I think that is a reasonable request, that it comes with us if we ever go somewhere. I doubt that's going to happen because it's too good of a location for us, what our mission wants to do in reaching kids and children and the main tourist area. So I don't think that day will come, but if it does, then I think that's a reasonable request that we take the sign down when we sell the building. So.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? If not, I'll call for a motion. I do want to, however this vote goes, I do want to just recognize that you're not necessarily penalized for if the vote goes the wrong way. You can come back. There's not a time limit. I personally think, and I'm not sure who to sit down with to do all these things that we've talked about, putting restrictions on. This board does not have the authority to enforce any of these agreements that you're proposing, which I think are all fair and reasonable agreements. So with that said, would anybody like to make a motion?
Well, real quick, on the enforceability of it, maybe we could specify, like a photometric, light cell, any kind of display so that it turns off if it's dark. But, I mean, there's other ways around that. So.
I would feel more comfortable if that language was in place before approval.
Right.
That being said.
So can I address that? I didn't get sworn in, so my name's Tom Mundell. I'm the president and CEO of the center. And I just want to say, so some of the things we're talking about.
Swear him in.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're giving there will be the truth and the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, thank you.
Just sign it
So-
whenever you're done, please.
What's that?
Just sign it.
Okay. With some of the concerns about
when we turn it off and all that stuff right now. We're a values-based organization. We put this in writing, and I can assure you from my vantage point as the CEO, we would honor every one of those obligations. And if you want, we can provide a way that we're complying to what the results of or restrictions you put on us. And I promise you that we will actually honor those because we're an organization. One of our values is integrity. And we take that very, very highly, and we try to instill that into children we teach right now. And so we would definitely comply to whatever the committee puts on us, and I can assure you that will happen from my vantage point.
I have no doubt.
Can you go back to the view, just the static view of the sign rendered?
I have a static view of the front of the building.
The one you're on, yeah. Press pause.
That's one of the displays in the building. It's just a video of
Yeah, that's actually George Jordan, one of the Medal of Honor recipients from the Middle Wars. He was actually one of the Buffalo soldiers that we have on an exhibit in the center itself. So that actually will be a little bit smaller than that in the building. If you can see that there's on the top there's glass panels on right and left that are about 1.5 feet. Actually, this video board will be inside those.
It'll be inside.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I can figure out how to,
about 1.5 feet.
how do I do this here?
Push the button, Tom.
Oh, here we go. See those panels right? Oh, these, the panels on either side right here, those will actually, the LED board will be inside those.
But it's exterior of the.
It's going to be 4 inches wide or thick.
The sign itself is on the exterior.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so if you look at those, the glass panels, they're probably what, 8-foot panels?
Actually, they're 3x6 wide, 7.6 high. And so there's 8 of them in total.
And so it actually sits inside the building facade, the tan facade,
Right.
so it'll be flush with that.
So modern technology is pretty cool because it's actually pretty slim feature right there, but, and we actually did look at, panels that you're talking about down below that we could actually do there. And we were advised by the designers that would basically put us in the same place that we are right now. So that's what they suggested that we look at. In fact, they're the ones who actually designed all the exhibits inside the museum as well. So, thank you.
I think we're gonna close comments and look to the committee to make a motion. Anyone? Okay, I'll do it. I make a motion on case FBC 2610 Aquarium Way, Unit 104, submitted pursuant to the Chattanooga City Code, Section 385964, pursuant to the form-based code specified below, meeting all conditions. Allowance of the message center sign, deny. Exceed maximum ground floor sign square footage, deny. Can we get a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's denied.
Okay, on to new business. First case, we're gonna hear is FBC 26-14. It's located at 1427 William Street. It is in the UCX urban context area, commercial mixed use. they are asking to exceed the maximum ground floor signage and square footage, limits for a sign. They want, this is a picture of the meeting notice. And an aerial of the location. And this is a rendering of the wrap that they'll put on there, as the sign. It's a total of 173 square feet. And this is an AI sort of rendering of it. And so again, this is an urban context area. They, they feel they're meeting and maintaining the safety and aesthetic, standards required by the code. So they just want to exceed the maximum ground floor, square footage, 48 square feet up to 73 square feet. So I'd love to ask applicant if they want to speak.
Hi, my name is Kristen Harris. I am the office manager at First Things First. We are currently going through a rebrand. Our new look is coming. We will officially launch August 1st. We're taking the intentional steps toward a refreshed brand to better reflect who we are, who we serve, and where we are headed. Our mission remains the same, is to guide people in their relationships so they can live better lives. Our goal and focus is to be within the community. If you go back to this picture. Yes, that one right there. So obviously this is our logo, First Things First, but the bigger impact is that tagline right there that says for the family. The importance is, we are surrounded by apartments, housing both on our side of the street and across the street. And so often people walk down the street and don't know what we are or where we are. So we figured with this rebrand, we wanted to be more visible, more in the community. We want to open those green doors right there and let people know that we are here in the community, just as you would maybe put like your initial of your last name on your house, or maybe your full name in a flag or a rock in your front yard. That's kind of our approach to this. And the brick wrap is permanent to the extent of it can be removed. We would just need to basically seal the brick, if that makes sense. We do rent this building. The DeCosimos own it, and we got a letter of support from the DeCosimos that they are in support of us doing this. And yeah.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak to this case? Seeing none, we'll open it up. What you said, it's paint?
It's a brick wrap. So it's like this isn't the correct word, but like a vinyl that seals to the brick, that gets like melted into the brick.
And this is part of your new branding?
Correct.
Okay. Nice.
Any thoughts or comments from the committee?
I just have one question. When you think about setting precedents, if we do this, will that allow somebody to come back to us on just any kind of signage to say, well, you allow this to go above? So,
Yeah. What is and this is a form-based code, but there was 10, 12 years ago, there's the whole mural controversy. And the size of this is kind of getting
To like mural.
to like a wall.
Yeah, the new
mural.
sign code does allow for murals. So, but,
They can't be,
the logo for your business can't exceed the ground floor
yeah,
signage.
it can't be about your business. That's right. Yeah. It's
Well, now
lovely
you can
design.
do murals that advertise your business.
Right.
It's strange, but.
So if you're a donut shop, you can't have donuts in your mural.
Okay.
No, they updated the sign code to allow that.
They did.
Oh, so you can, okay.
Yeah, it's just the literal logo for your business still has to remain within the ground floor sign parameters, but you can do a mural now. So if you saw pizzas, you can do
Okay.
Donuts change the city. It's amazing. I mean, I think it's a very interesting, cool design. I think it might be a lot for William Street. Size-wise, considering there's never a spot on William Street where you are far away enough to see that straight on as it's presented.
I will say that's why we decided to go with the black version and just the white in the middle to not make it so large. Or not large, but like pop out as much.
Yeah, I appreciate the artful application of it. It really is more of a mural application to an otherwise kind of nondescript brick building. I mean, 48 square feet on this building really wouldn't be that big. Maybe it would even just be for the family, would be 48 square feet.
Yeah. Previously, what we think, I'm not entirely sure if there ever was, but the two, you can kind of see there's two like lights at the top. So the building goes up, and I think that's where signage used to be. If that helps kind of put it into context, like this comes up a little bit. I definitely hear and understand, you know, it is large. Do you think there would be like a middle road? Like if we didn't do the full extent of the building, like maybe we stopped at the lower portion of the building, so the floor to like I don't know the measurements. I did have it in yeah. So kind of like the lower first.
So the new logo is just, what's it like?
The new logo itself is red, first things first. It's the steps is the concept of the logo.
Yeah, again, this is my opinion, and, you know, obviously there's not necessarily a hardship because there's not a lot of, you can see the sign from the street. I think smaller would be better. I think the for the family piece is probably too much, way too much, that big, that high on the building. Maybe more pedestrian oriented. Anyway, I'm just, yeah, this is my opinion. We're beyond, you know, the square footage of the sign requirement by a good amount. And so that's what we need to focus on, whether or not that's necessary or not.
But if you just look at the white, I bet that's within the 48 square.
So if we were to take the white potentially and move it up toward here and kept for the family underneath, is that something that you think would be more appeasing?
I believe so.
Okay.
Is there, you know, if she wanted to do the black in the future, is there a way to not come before the form-based code committee and just call that mural art?
Yeah, like if they remove first things first, then it would just be a mural.
I mean, I don't think, you know, it's kind of a cool, bold gesture across the building. Unfortunately, our sign code, yeah, look at the scale of the previous sign probably took up that whole top. It was way above 48 square feet. I think our sign code kind of limits us in doing artful, interesting applications of signage in the city. But, I mean, I think that would...
Remember, in form-based code, we do have the ability to, it doesn't have to be a hardship. If you still feel like something is meeting the overall intent of the principles of our downtown code, such as, again, engaging with like the pedestrian experience, like you can take those factors into yours.
Let me just make sure I understand correctly. If, like, let's say the white stairs that says first things first, which in theory, is our logo because our name is on it. That would fall under the jurisdiction of a sign, a business sign. But then if we were to take the first things that first off of the black steps, that could be a mural.
It's arguable because it ties into the graphic notion of your sign, and it's tricky.
I get that.
I don't mean to be vague.
No. I'm just trying to get creative here.
Regulation does allow you to separate out the larger mural from the logo. You can have the whole wall be a mural, but as long as the logo stays within the square footage, it's allowed.
Sure. And again, I appreciate the design very much. I think if it went from the street up to the first things first, and then it stopped, and we did something, if you did something different for the family, maybe down to the right of that garage door, I can't say whether or not we would say yes or not, but it would be more palatable for myself to give that variance, because I do think it's an artistic, creative area. I think the design contributes. I just think it's a little more than.
Understood. So at that point, just for clarification, I know no vote has happened, but would I then have to come back under this
If she
original?
asks for a deferral.
Yeah, you can ask for a
Deferred,
deferral
yeah.
and bring a new design back to us.
Okay.
We can deny it, you can bring a new design back to us.
If you deny it, then she also has the option to appeal it to city council.
Yes, you do have that.
Or you can go redesign it within the current. Like.
Okay, what would I do if I were to take the first things first off of the black, make those steps and keep the white?
Just send me the new calculated square footage. If it's under 48 square feet, then it would be allowed.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, no, I think you can get there. Would anybody like to make the motion, or is there any more comments?
Any other
Are
questions?
you asking for deferral or are you?
What's,
The deferral would be if you want them to not make a decision today and you want to come back, or you want time to redesign it. Because if you defer, you don't have to come back, but if you choose to, you can come back, or you can have them vote today.
I would like to do a deferral. Thank you.
All right, motion to defer case FBC 2614, 1427 William Street. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next case is FBC 26-15, located at 1429 Market Street. This is in the urban shopfront mixed use zone, and they're requesting to reduce the awning clearance from 9 feet to 7 feet 8 inches above grade. And this is in our rural sprawl zones for building elements. They should be a minimum of 9 feet clear height from the sidewalk. This is a picture of the meeting sign and arrow location. These are some, precedent images of the neighboring properties. And some, again, design references. And this is the proposed awning signage. And again, it's just the details of the care. So again, they're just asking simply to reduce the awning clearance from 9 feet to 7 feet 8 inches. This has been approved by CDOT, and it's just within 4 days, but they are not meeting that standard. I'd love to ask the applicant to come forward.
I'm Jerry Price of Spot Design Studio, 5001 Beulah Avenue. So we encountered some structural issues when we were redoing, this is an adaptive reuse project. It's a complete interior gut. And the rear, we were going to salvage all the original masonry. The building was deflecting to a serious debris in the back. It started to fall when we did demolition, so we had an emergency demolition permit and did a redesign in the rear. And then we also had the same problem in the front. So we were going to do the storefront infill with just one structural member, and we needed two. We also had deflection. There is a precast masonry beam above the storefront, so we had deflection in that also. So what we want to do is hang the awning off of the center structural member. And also we took, when this came up, because CDOT, we had to get some temporary use, and this is IBC compliant. So it's building code compliant height. It is not form-based code compliant. We could raise the awning to be in the middle of the glazing, which would not look good. It's supposed to appear as a floating, very low profile awning with backlit, very simple address over it. There's not going to be any logo on it. There is a design sketch. And we have minimized all the elements to hang it off of. Actually, this design sketch has just changed. This is not actually 100% accurate. Those rods that are going to be holding the awning actually go up to the top structural member that is right below the precast concrete that is also deflecting. Because originally, if you look kind of the lines, we were going to hang off precast concrete. We can't do that because it started deflecting for some reason. So we've kind of just been like jumping when things start deflecting and redesigning. And so we're now at this awning height that is directly adjacent. Behind it is a structural member. We can drill into storefront, but definitely it's not desired. We would like to drill into the structural member. And like I said, we are IBC compliant. There is pictures of multiple awnings within a 3-block radius that are literally within 2 inches of what we're proposing. And what we did do when this happened is I reduced the depth of the awning because it's lower. It was going to go out 4 feet. And we decided to reduce it to 3 feet so it does, to accommodate the height transition. That's it.
Does anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this project? Seeing none, we'll take it to committee comments. Any questions? Thoughts, anecdotes, poems? So there is where the height of the canopy is, there is a steel member behind that.
Absolutely, directly.
This is
behind.
connected to at several intervals along that storefront.
Yes, it's a continuous beam. And if you go to the shop drawings, you can see where we're drilling directly into the structural. There is a storefront member, but it's just storefront. It's not structural, which we could go up above, but then we would have to drill into the storefront. The deflection, we don't, with the wind load, and we prefer not to do that. It's done, but definitely not preferred. And if we go any higher, what's the point of it? I mean, one of the points is there's an office entry there, and then there's also 3 dwellings. It's for rain. Well, it's also aesthetics, but it's also if you're entering a building in weather. The higher an awning gets, and also when it's a shallow awning, doesn't really serve its purpose. And it is conducive to other awnings directly around us. There's plenty that are like, we went and measured about 12 of them. And a lot, and I don't know how they're there, and they don't look bad. But there's a lot that are 8 feet, 7, 9. We are at about 7, 8. I could tilt the awning up. Again, I don't know what that would accomplish really. So yeah, we're applying for the major modification, but we're still within 8 inches. IBC at section, I believe 3202.2.3 allows for 7 feet clearance in the building code. And transportation has approved it.
Any thoughts from anyone?
It looks architecturally appropriate and pedestrian scaled. I don't see any reason that this goes against the intent of the code.
And just lost the word. Anyway, the hardship is the structural.
Which originally we didn't have, and when we started deflecting in 2 locations, we had to add some additional members.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I make a motion on case number FBC-26-15, 1429 Market Street, as submitted pursuant to the Chattanooga City Code, Section 38-596-4, and pursuant to the form-based code as specified below and subject to any and all conditions. Modification requests an awning clearance reduction from 9 foot to 7 foot 8 above grade. Approve.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Before I forget, for the 5th time, we let the record show that Alex Raymond showed up for the meeting before the first case.
Are you present, John? Okay, thanks.
I've been meaning to say that the entire meeting.
No, we caught it.
Okay.
Next case is FPC 26-16, located at 1247 Riverfront Parkway. It is in the Bend context area. It is BCX 12, the commercial mixed use zone. They want to decrease the minimum H Street lot frontage from 90% minimum to 70% minimum. This location already had a previous modification. This is for that would apply to the first phase. This is the second phase. The modification would cover the lot reduction for that. This is a picture of the meeting sign and an aerial of the location. And this is a site plan and some elevations. And again, they already didn't meet the minimum lot street frontage, but they're expanding the building, so it'll go from 40% up to 70%, but still not meet the 90% minimum. And again, this context area is the transitioning from industrial to high amenity kind of mixed use waterfront district, and again, we encourage vertical integration. All those things. Love to ask the applicants come up and talk about it.
Joe Kreitz with LME Architects. So like Akosha said, we had an approval. I wasn't involved in phase 1, but we had an approval to go to as low as 40%, I think is what we did. And the intention was always to do a phase 2. Due to the volume of patients, so this is in the existing is a surgical center and then a dermatologist. It's a high volume of patients, so we really can't take much more. We can't really get to the 90% because otherwise the parking won't be able to support the tenants inside the space. The new addition is going to be all pediatrics, exam rooms on the first floor, and then offices and supporting spaces on the second floor. So just looking to get down to 70% so that we can still have a functioning building. And I should point out that the frontage of this thing is 360 feet long. So there's actually a contradiction in the FBC that the max I could go would be 300 feet. So I'd be here either way to get it down to 300 feet, and I'd still only be at like 82%. So.
So this would be classified as one building?
Yes, it'll all be one
It's an
building.
addition. Okay.
It's an addition, yeah. Yep.
Before we get more questions, anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this? Seeing none. Was there a case for the original 40% approval?
It was from 2020. Do you have that?
Yes. FBC 20-3, I think.
So if they were previously approved for 40%, why are
They tied it to just the first phase. And they do have modifications on there that address the first and second phase. So just to be cautious, since they didn't specifically call out the reduction for the second phase.
Yeah, they put phase 1
Yeah, I'm assuming that they
In
thought at
their
the time that at phase 2
conditions.
become compliant, so.
So if this building had been presented as phase 1 and 2, it would, I think, as you suggest, not meet the, or would be too long
Yeah, then it would be too long.
across the, which is really a,
Look, you got approval for 400 feet in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It was just similar to like the developments down by the new stadium where they aren't meeting lot frontage, but they do intend to build out the entire site. I think that it was probably similar thinking at the time when they wrote that condition was we will allow 40% for the first phase, but they didn't specifically call out the second.
Did the lot frontage used to be 60%? Because that's what that says. Reduction from 60% to 40%.
It's because the
this
bin-
this building came in before the bend. was
Out of
taken
context,
into context.
Yeah, it wasn't even, yeah. And I'm surrounded by industrial.
Yeah,
units.
so the zoning changed after.
Yeah. Okay, what about the parking screening requirements? You're wrapping the parking.
That's
around-
not required in the bin
Okay.
area. I had proposed if, at one point, if we have to, I'd rather not, but if we have to, I figured a site wall would maybe be something that would accomplish these two things, but I'm spending the developer's money right now, so.
Yes, sure. Understood. Any thoughts from the committee?
approved from 300 to 400 for phase 1 and 2. Can you go to the elevation view?
So what's the overall length?
The overall length is gonna be 269'8". 270 foot approximately. So, on the right, on the first elevation, this is the street facing on river front. On the right side is the existing building, and on the left is our addition. That, which you can see the arrows where I'm showing addition and existing. That, entry lobby was part of phase 1 with the elevator and stair and all that, with the intention of phase 2 just attaching directly to it. So I'm trying to keep the same context and rhythm of the existing building.
So you said on the previous approval, it was for phase 1 and phase 2 for 400 feet. So it's
300.
And then they approved 40%. So that was a minimum of 160 feet of frontage. He's over that right now. And my personal opinion is we respect previous title.
Yeah, and the only point being, this is different code now.
Well, the issue is that when they reduced the lot frontage, in that previous variance, they only called out phase 1. But they did have other things where they addressed phase 2, so I can only assume that they didn't intend to, extend that to phase 2, so that's the reason why I just said out of caution, just come in. For the second phase for the lot frontage.
If this were presented as one continuous building frontage today, are there any just, thinking about the future pedestrian experience along that urbanized riverfront parkway, right? Is there anything that would comply with the form-based code as presented as a continuous building as it will be experienced once it's the addition?
I believe so. I mean, this is in form-based code area, but the actual context, what is to the lot to the right in this picture?
A large parking lot.
A large parking lot. Showing the intent of the 90% is to fill missing teeth in the urban fabric, so.
Right.
You gotta think that the rest of this land is still developable to fill that gap if it's ever needed.
If you get to the 90%, you still have room for the parking.
I wouldn't have technically I would be able to meet the minimum parking requirements, but the function of the facility, it would be awful.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Make a motion on case FBC 2616-1247 Riverfront Parkway as submitted pursuant to the Chattanooga City Code, Section 38596, and pursuant to the form-based code as specified below and subject to any and all conditions, none stated, to approve decreasing the minimum A street lot frontage from 90% minimum to 70%.
Okay, can I get a second? Second. I'm sorry. All right, all those approved, all those opposed? Good time.
Thanks, guys.
Last case today is FDC 26-17. It's located at 609 East 11th Street. This is in the UIX industrial mixed use zone. And this is an existing building, so it was not conforming to form-based code when we adopted the code, so it's a legal non-conforming building, and they are going to do a change of use, which triggered the code compliance. So they're requesting a decrease from the minimum ground square fenestration from the required 50% to the existing, and the primary street setback is exceeding the maximum from 15. They want to just keep it at existing. And this is a picture of the meeting sign and an aerial of the location. And these are some pictures of the site. And this is the site plan. This is some of the elevations. So some of the work that they're doing that is on the exterior is they're replacing 2 doors in the garage door. The applicant can explain a bit more what they're doing, and they're going to improve the parking for ADA compliance. So again, this building doesn't meet code standards, so they're seeking modifications for the fenestration and the building setback placements. I'd love to ask the applicant to come up and talk about the property.
All right, Dylan Fuller, 1805 West 38th Street. I guess, can you steer me to the one with the 2 red rectangles on it? Yeah, that one.
That one?
Yes, thank you. So I think the main facade in question is the front facade. This is the bottom one is the street facing facade. There's the 2 opaque garage doors. So technically we're adding some transparency, which I think was part of the trigger for this. we'd be taking out those opaque garage doors and replacing them with a clear door and the other windows that match the sill height. They aren't fully to the ground. Otherwise, no changes to the exterior of the building minus the ramp at the parking lot. And then along the east side, which I don't think doesn't face the street, so I don't know if there's anything we need to talk about there. Yeah, and we don't plan to move the building, so, yeah.
But you are gonna remove the chain link fence.
Yes.
Would it be, the city initiated street improvement, sidewalk and all of that, or is that getting in the way of the?
Because it all falls under form-based code and the sidewalks existing. So I think this is the last thing we have left in our permit.
Yeah, if there are any issues with the sidewalk, most of those, if they don't have enough right of way, are staff approved modifications, but again, the building is where it is, so.
Yeah. Would anyone from the audience like to speak for or against this project? Seeing none. Does anyone from the committee have any comments or thoughts? To me, it's fairly straightforward. It's an existing building. We usually let those exist.
What's the use?
It's changing from being an art studio into a gym and a cafe.
That's right. Well, yes, the cafe will be. It's
The
not.
cafe is later.
Yeah, it was going to be. There's not enough budget. They'll have to get that. The gym is the left side with the garage doors.
So
Well-
it's because it's a change of use,
Yeah.
going from like a personal services to more retail, and
Right.
that's why suddenly you have to look at all the form-based code standards, but it is multiple.
Any other thoughts? Would like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to approve. Need to read on this. Make a motion on case. Make a motion on case FPC 2617 6009 E 11th Street, as submitted pursuant to Chattanooga City Code, Section 38-596-4, and pursuant the form-based code as specified below and subject to any of all conditions. Requesting a decrease from the minimum ground story fenestration from required minimum 50% to exist. I approve.
I will second.
Can you do the second one too? There's two.
The second request to increase the primary street maximum setback from 15 to existing.
Okay, we have a motion to approve both modifications. Can I get a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your patience. It's a long one today. Thank you.
Still make it easy for it.
I think I got how much?
Thank you.
Got 6 minutes left on parking.
Well, if you park down here, you know, you don't have to pay for it. But you park on the street.
All right.
Oh.
Last time I had no time left, and last time I was late. It was full.
Oh,
Good to know.
well, thank you.
Oh, hey, do you, he's gone. Sorry.
No, if that's the list of the modifications, they have plenty.
Got it.
So yes, next meeting is August 13th. And right now we only have one case. We'll issue out modification permits within the week. Any question?
We're good. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Approved. Let's go.
This month, historic zoning only has like 2 cases.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what happened? We just need once.
Yeah. We'll flip flop. You're just. All right. Let's go back and wait for that.
Uh-oh, because you were gone for 2 hours, Tom? Oh,
I mean, they really need to sit down and work with an architect to, it doesn't sound like it sounds like it's a visitation problem, not not something that is gonna necessarily be solved.